In this video, we are going to discuss how to calculate the short circuit withstand current of the conductor and the metallic sheath of a high voltage cable. We all know that the short circuit withstand current capability is one of the most crucial ratings of any electrical item, including electrical power cables. Now the question is, how do we design the cable based on the allowable short circuit current for a given duration? That means, after calculating the fault level and the fault current sustaining duration, the utility provides these values to the manufacturer. Then, the cable manufacturer has to design the conductor and the sheath in such a way that the cable can withstand that short circuit current for the given duration. In this video, we are going to discuss the necessary formulas, the logic behind those formulas, and the values of different parameters used in calculating the short circuit current level of a designed cable. Let's start our discussion now. For this, we use the most common standard, the International Electrotechnical Commission IEC 60949. In this standard, a simple method for calculating the short circuit current of a given cable is formulated. In a power cable, mainly in a high voltage power cable, current flows through two paths, meaning short circuit current flows through two paths. One is through the main conductor and the second is through the metallic sheath that we use in the power cable. Short circuit current also flows through that metallic sheath. So, we have to perform the calculation twice for any power cable. One is the short circuit calculation of the conductor and the second is the short circuit calculation of the metallic sheath. Now, the short circuit calculation of the conductor is a little simpler than the calculation of the metallic sheath. The reason is that when we perform short circuit calculation, we first assume that for a very short duration, like 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or even less than 1 second or a fraction of a second, the short circuit current that flows through it will generate heat inside the conductor. And even though that heat is very large, it will not get sufficient time to spread around the conductor into the surrounding insulation material. It will not be able to propagate. That means, whatever heat is generated will remain confined within the conductor itself. Based on this assumption, we start the calculation. But it has been observed that in the case of very thin cables, where the ratio of fault duration divided by the cross-sectional area is more than 0.1, the effect of heat spreading into the surroundings becomes significant. In that case, this heat spreading effect has to be considered. But generally, in our transmission system, the power cables that we use have sufficiently large cross-sectional areas. So this ratio, that is, fault duration divided by the cross-sectional area of the conductor, always remains much lower than 0.1. That is why we do not need to consider this heat spreading into the surrounding insulation. As a result, for thick cables, our calculation becomes much simpler. Now, here we can calculate two types of current. The first is the adiabatic heating current, where all the heat remains concentrated within the conductor. The second is the actual short circuit current. In that case, we also consider the non-adiabatic heating effect. Typically, after calculating the adiabatic current, we multiply it by a factor to obtain the actual short circuit current. But for thick cables, the ones we use in transmission, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm saying again, there is no need to consider this additional factor. Calculation of adiabatic short circuit current. The general formula of adiabatic short circuit current is I sub AD equals K into S into square root of logarithm of theta F plus beta divided by theta I plus beta and the whole divided by small t, where IAD is the RMS short circuit current calculated on an adiabatic basis. Small t is the allowable duration of the short circuit current. K is a constant. It depends on the material of the current carrying part of the cable. S is the cross-sectional area of the conductor. Theta F is the final temperature in degree centigrade. Theta I is the initial temperature in degree centigrade. Now, final temperature means what will be the temperature of the conductor after the short circuit, and initial temperature means what was the temperature at the beginning of the short circuit. Beta is the reciprocal of the temperature coefficient of resistance of the conductor material at 0 degree centigrade. Now, let us assume a cable is given. This cable is made of copper. That means the conducting portion is copper. It is given that during the short circuit duration, the temperature of the conductor rises from 90 degrees centigrade to 250 degrees centigrade. So, 90 degrees centigrade is the initial temperature and 250 degrees centigrade is the final temperature. Also, the short circuit duration is given as 1 second. Now, if we put these values into the formula, first we go to table 1. This table is given in IEC 949. From table 1, we take the value of K for copper, which is 226. And we also take the value of beta for copper, which is 234.5. Now, substituting these into the formula, we get IAD equals 226 into 400 into square root of log of 250 plus 234.5 divided by 90 plus 234.5 and the whole divided by 1. Now, if we calculate this, finally we get IAD equals 57.2 kiloampere. So, we have already calculated the fault current for 1 second and the value comes out to 57.2 kiloampere. Now, here's the important part. We don't directly use this exact value for cable rating. Instead, we select the nearest standard rating. In this case, the nearest standard value is 50 kiloampere for 1 second. Now think about it logically. If the cable can safely withstand 57.2 kiloampere for 1 second, then it can definitely handle 50 kiloampere for 1 second without any problem. That means the cable is operating well within its thermal limit. So, for practical design and standardization, we rate the cable as 50 kiloampere for 1 second. And this is exactly how engineers select cable short circuit ratings in real systems. Now let's move one step further. The cable we selected can be considered as an aluminium sheath cable. The outer diameter of the sheath is 65 millimeters and the thickness of the sheath is 1.6 millimeters. Our next task is to calculate the short circuit current of this sheath. We will follow the same approach as before and we will use the same formula. But this time, we will replace the conductor area with the cross-sectional area of the sheath. Now, for a sheath, the cross-sectional area is given by A equals pi into D into lambda, where D is the mean diameter of the sheath and lambda is the thickness. The thickness is already given as 1.6 millimeters. To calculate the mean diameter, we take the average of the outer and inner diameters. So it becomes 65 plus 61.8 divided by 2, which gives us 63.4 millimeters. Now substituting the values, the cross-sectional area becomes A equals pi into 63.4 into 1.6, which is approximately 318.7 square millimeters. Now we calculate the adiabatic short circuit current. For aluminium, we refer to the standard table where the value of K is 148 and beta is 228. We use the same formula and substitute all the values. Here, the initial temperature is 90 degrees, the final temperature is 250 degrees, and the time duration is 1 second. After calculation, the short circuit current comes out to be approximately 30.1 kiloampere. So this is the adiabatic short circuit current of the aluminium sheath. Now, if we want to move towards non-adiabatic calculation, we first need to determine the non-adiabatic factor. In practical situations, this factor can be considered, but for most standard calculations, especially at this level, its impact is not very significant. So, for simplicity, we are not including it in our discussion. This gives you a clear idea of how to calculate the short circuit current of a cable sheath.